Welcome students to the subject Computer Fundamentals. So in the first unit we have two subtopics. So the first topic is all about the history and evolution of computer, and followed by that we have also studied the characteristics, features of computers and different generations of computers. So now let us understand the contents of the second topic of the first unit. So this second topic discusses about the basic block diagram of a computer system and basic functionality of a modernized computer system, or we can say the general purpose computer system. So in this topic we are going to study about the basic operations performed by all types of computer system, and we are going to study about the stored procedure concept, and then we are going to study the basic or classic block diagram of a computer system, and then followed by that we are going to study the input unit and its functionalities, output units its functionality, and then the storage unit. So the main important thing that we need to understand in this topic is about the block diagram of computer system and how actually the computer performs and what all communication happens with different input output devices and how the processing takes place. We'll study with some examples. Even though the size, shape and the performance of the computer varies, but the functionality of any computer device, if you take, it remains same. So whether you take the laptop or whether we take the desktop or whether we take the server system or mainframe system, so any computer if you take, the basic functionality is going to remain same. So it basically performs 5 functionalities that are inputting, storing, processing, outputting and controlling. So these basic functionalities for any computer system are going to remain same irrespective of the type of computer system we are using. These functionalities will be same, and all these general purpose computer systems work on the concept of stored program concept, which was in fact proposed by the von Neumann. In short, we can say that the logic structure of a computer system remains same irrespective of the type of computer system we are going to use. And we all know that the basic task of a computer system is to take the raw input and process it and then convert into useful information or result. So to do this particular task, it performs 5 basic functions. So let us understand each one of them in detail. So the first thing is the inputting. So whenever we want to perform any task, we need to provide some data and instructions. So data can be in any format. Data can be in terms of numbers, it can be in terms of characters, and in any format it can be. With the data we need to also provide the instructions. So what has to be done with the data? So these two will be given by the input devices, and this concept or this process or this mechanism we call it as the inputting. And once the data is given to the computer or it is entered into the computer, what has to be done is the data has to be stored. So for that we need this concept of storing or the storing functionality. So saving data and instruction to make them readily available for initial or additional processing whenever required. So once the data is provided to the computer and the instructions are provided, it has to be stored, and this storing mechanism will be taken care by the storage devices. So they will store these data and instruction permanently, and whenever it is required we can access them, or these will make them readily available for initial or additional processing. So we may require at the time when we want to perform the processing, or in the future use also we may require to use the stored data or the instruction to perform our task or to carry out our processing work. So once the raw data and instructions are given to the computer and then they are stored, what we need to do is the processing. So basically we don't do it. In fact, we just provide the data and instruction. Computer will do this processing task in the CPU. So for that, the performing processing will be done by the arithmetic operations. So for this separately we have this arithmetical and logical unit. Like when we want to do the operation like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, so for that we use this arithmetic and logical unit, in fact. And then for comparison purpose, so suppose I want to compare two numbers, okay, and then I want to compare the ages of two students, or when I want to compare the marks of two students, so in such cases we require this logical operations. So whenever we have this comparison, we call it as the logical operation. So this will be taken care by the logical unit to convert them into useful information. So this, the concept or mechanism we call it as the processing. So the next task or the next function is the outputting. So the data that we have provided, it is stored, it is then processed. So once it is processed, what a user expects is we need to get the result, or we need to get the information, or we can say that the raw data which we have provided, it is been polished, or it is been converted into useful information by the processor. So the data is processed, we have got the result is available, but it is present actually in the storage unit itself, but we want to get, or we want to display it on the monitor, or we can take the printout of it. So that process we call as the outputting. So the process of producing useful information or results for the user, such as printed report or visual display. So this mechanism we call it as the outputting. So these are the things that we actually do, but to do all these things we want a controller, or we want some manager who can do all these tasks. Like we want to perform all these tasks in a proper sequence or in a proper steps. So to do this all these inputting, storing, outputting, for that we have this control unit which will perform the task of controlling, and that means it provides some directions when we have to give the input, or what device we need to use, how the data has to be transferred from the input unit to the storage unit, and from storage how it will transfer to the processor, and how we get the output, and so on. So for all this we need a manager or a controlling agent, so that we can do the task with ease. So directing the manner and sequence in which all of the above operations are performed. So this we call it as the controlling. So after studying all these basic 5 functionalities, let us understand how these functionalities are actually carried out by the different units of the computer system. So even though the internal architecture of the computer system differs from one computer to another computer, the meaning of architecture means here one computer may be a desktop computer or laptop computer, or even if you take a desktop computer itself, one system may be of 32-bit processor, another system may be of 64-bit processor. The size and shape of the computer may differ, or this storage capacity or this other things may differ from one computer to another computer, but the working of any computer device remains same. So this figure shows the block diagram of the computer system. So it clearly specifies how the computer has organized, and how the input units and output units communicate with each other, and how they actually perform the tasks. So this basic block diagram has 5 major building blocks, and each block represents with the functions that we have studied. So the first function that we have studied is inputting, so that will be done by the input units. Then we had discussed about the outputting, so that will be done by the output unit. Then we discussed about the storage or the storing concept, so that will be done in this storing part. And then we discussed about the processing. So actually this in processing itself we have indicated the control unit and the arithmetical and logical unit, or you can consider it as separate as well. So the processing will be done by the arithmetical and logical unit, and the controlling will be done by the controlling unit. So for each functionality we have one separate block which performs the corresponding functionality. So now let us understand in detail about this block diagram. So first let us discuss how to draw this diagram. So for the input and output we need to draw this parallelogram. So always even in your flowcharts that you are studying in C programming, for the input and output we use this parallelogram. And then for the storage we have this rectangle, and again in that we have two sections. One is secondary storage and one is the primary storage. And then we have this central processing unit, or that we call it as the CPU. In that we have two subsections, the control unit and the arithmetical and logical unit, or arithmetic and logic unit. After drawing this diagram we need to give proper labels. So we can write it input unit, output unit, storage unit, and secondary storage unit, primary storage unit, and so on. So once that is done, the important thing that we need to do is we need to put the arrow marks. So arrow marks are very much essential in this particular block diagram. So we have two types of arrow marks. The one is the dark arrow mark, we can say, or the thick arrow mark, which indicates flow of instructions and data. So wherever we have this thick one arrow mark, it indicates how the data is flowing and from where we are getting the data and where it is being transferred, or from one device to another device how the data is being transferred. So that will be indicated by this dark arrow mark. And then we have one more dotted arrow mark, indicates the control exercised by the control unit. So this dotted indicates how this control unit is managing, or how it is providing some guidance, or how it is managing the communication of input unit to output units, and input unit to storage units, and input storage units to arithmetical and logical unit. So it basically is telling how this communication will take place from one device to another device. So that will be indicated by the dotted lines. Now let us understand the working of the computer system in brief first, and then we'll discuss in detail. So first and foremost thing that we have is the inputting. So the program and data. So the program, data and instructions will be given into the input unit. So through the input unit, then the data will be transferred to the storing, because the second functionality is what? Storing. So the data will be stored into the secondary storage device like our hard disk, and then when we want to execute it, or when we want to run the program, we require this primary storage. And then if you want to do any arithmetical or logical operations, the data will be transferred to this CPU, and then the data will be processed here, and then in return we are getting the result from the CPU to the primary memory. Through that we are getting it to the secondary storage, and then the same data, or the processed data is, now we can call it as the information. So we first transferred the data, and then the data and instructions that we have transferred is stored in this secondary storage device. Then it passed to the primary storage, and then for processing we passed it to the central processing unit, where we do actually the arithmetical and logical operations. And so once that is done, we can say that now our data is a polished one, or the processed one. So we can call that data as the information. So the information will flow from processing unit to the primary storage and then to the secondary storage unit. And now once the processing is completed, we want the result. So to get the result, what we need again the output units, like we need the output devices. So once the data is transferred to the output device, we can display the results on the screen or on the monitor, or we can take the printed copy. So this is what actually the computer performs. And to do all these operations, we require this control unit, so which will actually performs, or which coordinates with different devices. Like input device is different, output device is different, storage devices are different, and their working is also different, and the functionality of these devices also differs. So how these communication has to happen, or in which sequence or in which order it has to happen, that all will be taken care by the control unit, or we can say it as like a manager. Or in a, to give an layman example, in a classroom we need a monitor who can monitor the students, and he can also communicate with the staffs or teachers. So it is like a control unit which coordinates or which communicates properly with the different units, so that the tasks are performed correctly. Now let us discuss in detail about each of these different building blocks. So what is the task of the input unit? So it accepts or reads instructions and data from the outside world. So basically, before the computer actually performs the calculations or the computations, what has to be done? We need to give the input, or we need to provide the data and instruction to the computer first. So how we can give the data and instruction? That can be done only by using the input devices like keyboard, mouse, it can be scanner. It depends on which type of input we want to provide and which type of device we are using. And then it converts these instructions and data in computer acceptable form. So this we need to understand properly, because computer understands only the binary language. Because it is an electronic device, it can understand only the binary language, that is in zeros and ones. But when we are giving the input, or when a user is giving the input, we don't understand the machine language, or we don't understand zeros and ones. So the data or instruction that we give in high level language like English like languages, that has to be converted in terms of the computer acceptable form. So computer understands only zeros and ones. So these input devices or these input unit performs this task. So basically it accepts the data, and then it converts this data and instructions into computer understandable language, or in which a computer can accept it or it can understand it, and then it supplies the converted instructions and data to the computer system for further processing. Let us take an example. Suppose we want to do the calculation of addition, that is 2 plus 3. So this is what we call it as the raw data, or this is the data that we want to give it to the computer, and we are also giving the instruction. So this will be given by the user or the person who wants to give this input. So this is the outside world. From the outside world, we need to give this data to the computer by using this input unit. Let us consider it as the keyboard. So when I say 2 plus 3, so this I can understand. This is 2 and this is 3, because it is human understandable language. Or I can give the characters or alphanumeric numbers or any kind of information. I can give the data like A to Z alphabets. I can also give in terms of data to the computer. But this entire thing is not understood by the computer system, because computer understands only zeros and ones. So what this input unit will do, it will first accept and it will read the data with instructions like addition, subtraction or comparison, whatever we want to do, and then it converts these instructions and data into computer understandable language or computer readable format. So I've just given this example. You will understand later on in the second unit. You will come to know how we can convert this decimal numbers into binary numbers. To just give an example, we have converted this 2 in terms of binary language, that is zeros and ones. So this is how we represent decimal 2 in binary 0010 with 4-bit representation. Similarly, when I want to have 3, so it will be 0011. So this has to be done by the input unit. So the human readable data is been converted into zeros and ones, that which can be understood by the computer system, and also we are providing the instruction. So this data now will be passed to the computer system. So these are the 3 important functions that are performed by the input unit. Now let us discuss about the functionality of output unit. So it accepts the results produced by the computer which are in coded form and hence cannot be easily understood by us. So it converts these coded results to human acceptable form. So the basic in a short, if we want to discuss about this, it exactly performs the reverse operation of the input device, because human being can understand only the high level language, like we can understand English like languages, and we can understand 1 to 10 digits and alphabets A to Z and so on, but we don't understand this machine level language or assembly level language, zeros and ones. It becomes very difficult for us to convert everything, so we don't understand this language. So what this output unit will do, whatever the result that is being produced by the processor and which is been already stored in the storage device, that will be produced or that will be given out to the output unit. So this output unit will convert this binary information or the result that is present in the binary form, that has to be again converted back to the high level language, so that human can read it and understand it easily. So it converts these coded results to human acceptable or readable form. It supplies the converted results to the outside world. So for this it uses the output devices. Let us consider the same example. So what we have passed these 2 values 2 and 3, but input device has converted this 2 and 3 in terms of zeros and ones. So in the computer memory, the data that we have passed is converted in terms of zeros and ones, and the same zeros and ones that we have passed, that will again go to the CPU for processing. So now what this CPU will do, CPU will take, instead of taking 2 and 3, it will take the converted data which is in the computer understandable language. So it will take 0010 and 0011, then it calculates the result. So the instruction that we have given is addition. So this arithmetical unit will add these 2 numbers, that is 2 and 3, and what we get the result as 5. So basically the information that we are getting here is again in terms of binary. So the binary equivalent of 5 with 4 bits is 0101. So now if this information is given to the user, we don't understand this usually. I mean, if the data is, if the result is too big, it will become very difficult for us to understand. So the processed result that is present in the CPU will be transferred back to the secondary storage device, and then through that to the secondary storage device, output device will be connected, and output unit gets actually the information in terms of zeros and ones only. But what this output unit has to do now, the result that is present in zeros and ones, that has to be converted in terms of human readable format, and then it converts this 0101 into the result as 5, and then it produces the results on the terminal, or we can take the printed copy of this results, or depends on the type of output device we are using, or depends on the user how we want to get the results from the computer. So if you observe, the output unit perform exactly the reverse operation of the input device. So input device takes the raw data and it has to convert this high level language or human readable data in terms of machine understandable language, and then it passes this data for processing, and then the processor will take care of all the addition and subtraction, whatever task that we are performing, and so once that is done, it will be passed through the storage device and we'll get the output unit. Now the output unit will come into picture and it will convert this binary information in terms of human understandable language, and then with the help of output devices like printer, monitors, or whatever, through that it gives the result. So we can call this input unit, whatever the task that is performed, we can call this as the input interface, and this we can call it as the output interface. So these are the functionality. So it is easy for the students to remember this, because the functionalities that we can understand here, they are exactly reverse of that input devices. So it accepts from the computer and then it converts these into the human acceptable form, and then it gives the result to the outside world. I hope you have understood the basic block diagram of a computer system and the working of the different functionalities and the working of input devices and output devices. So in the next class we'll discuss in more detail about the storage unit and control unit and arithmetical logical unit, and we can clearly understand the tasks and functionalities that are produced by these other devices. And I want everyone to practice this block diagram, because from the examination point of view or even from the knowledge point of view, the working of computer system is very much essential, and this block diagram is very much required. So practice this block diagram and try to draw a neat label diagram of this computer system. Thank you all.